good old knuckle crack, huh?
Sounds like a bar name. Down at the Knuckle Crack.
Hey, you gotta come see my band. We're playing at the Knuckle Crack. I'm in. Let's go to the Knuckle
He
Crack.
gets it.
I get it. You get it, right? You get it. Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, episode 27. We are the Chambers Brothers. My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And today, this week on the Elk Season Podcast,
We've got some stuff about wolves, a little bit about elk.
there should be some elk, yeah?
There's a buffalo story.
Yeah.
Every
Every time I hear the word buffalo, it's so dumb. You know the casino buffalo game?
No.
It's a real game where it's like buffalo charging. And anyways, Every time you win a bonus round, and I don't even play it. I swear on the soul of my father, Domingo Montoya. I don't even play it.
You're at the Keno machine next to it. I get it.
Yes, I play slots. I'm a real man. No, I'll have to show you. We'll have to go down to.
I'm staying out of that one.
Anyway, it's so dumb. Every time you win a bonus round on the Buffalo slot machine, there's a cry, Buffalo! And it's just this awesome Buffalo. And you hear it like you hear Wheel of Fortune, in the casino. Sure. I just hear Buffalo sometimes. So every time I hear the word Buffalo, and then I'll tease my sister. You want to go to Jackpot? Buffalo!
Well,
anyway, sorry for that aside. Buffalo.
So yeah, there's a buffalo story there that has nothing to do with at least money gambling. I'm sure there's a gambling angle to it.
I've read a lot of books about the indigenous people of the Americas, and they loved to gamble.
True.
They loved it, man, and they were always. I don't know if they did it on if they bet on buffalo. They bet a lot on. They did a lot. They played a lot of games, and they did a lot of horse racing. And they still do some of that traditional. I don't know if you ever see some of the traditional Native American horse racing that they do, the relay races.
Yeah,
holy,
it's pretty wild,
intense.
Yeah, bareback and everything.
Oh man, and it's really cool. It's really cool stuff. Anyway, Buffalo.
Yeah,
it's all like
and I don't know if I should be the bearer of the next group of stories. But
is it bears?
Yeah, it has to do with bears.
Oh,
I don't know what was worse, the interjection of the buffalo gambling or my really poorly thought out dad joke.
That's all right. I heard another joke. Can I tell you a joke? There's a 90-year-old guy. He lost his wife like 15 years ago, and a bunch of his friends get together to hire a prostitute for him. Really good looking prostitute, goes up on the door, knocks on the door, and the guy opens it. He goes, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm here to give you super sex." He goes, "That's great. I'll have the soup." Dad joke.
Took me a second.
Wait, what kind of soup was it? That's how heavy a dad I am. Wait a minute. You didn't say what kind of soup. Anyway.
Yeah. Because that's where my mind went. It was just like all the different varieties.
Right. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Now there's soup in here. Now I am confused.
So anyway,
always. Listen, I know I'm running wild because we are 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Semanas.
Today is Thursday. The whatever it's the 18th, 17th, 18th.
Today is the 18th.
The 18th. We are 2 weeks away from driving, leaving home to go for the inaugural elk trip of 2022.
Oh, true. Sorry. It took me a second. My brain's a little slow today. Inaugural trip. I'm like, but we've been hunting before.
I'm just excited, so I'm using fancy words.
Wait for the qualifier.
Hey, I know a $3 word. So I get all excited.
$3 for that?
Jared called me just to tell me he was excited. He called me. I called him on Sunday, and I said, "Yeah, I'm going shooting with David later." He goes, "Yeah, I'm going shooting right now."
Sweet.
And we had
so updates, right?
Yeah, we had a good trip. Did you? I'm sorry. I know my brain is all over the place right now because I'm really excited about elk season.
I couldn't tell.
You were going to tell us about what we were going to talk about today.
We just
You
talked
did- you-
about
you
it. Yeah, we're
covered it
there.
all?
And now
Okay.
I was just saying updates,
Let's go.
announcements.
Okay.
I thought you were actually segueing into the shooting, and then you backtracked on me, man. I feel a little let down here.
The shooting?
Because we went out for an excursion. You
Oh,
talked about going
shooting
out
our bows. Yes,
shooting
yes,
our bows.
yes, yes.
Not that we have to talk about that because it's really nothing
Man.
exciting and more embarrassing, really, than anything.
I am
but-
so glad we went.
yeah.
I am so glad. I just don't shoot my bow enough. I used to shoot a lot.
I'm gonna confess something here.
Yeah.
Forgive me for I've sinned. When I went through bow hunter safety, it's the one message that really was pounded down the most.
Yeah.
From my instructor in bow hunter safety in 2004. I think that was 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, 2003 or 2002. Maybe it was 2002. Doesn't matter. The bow instructor said, shoot and shoot often and shoot as much as you can.
Yeah.
Every weekend,
Yeah.
you should be shooting. And that has rung in my head ever since then. But have I lived up to that? I've shot in my head. I've thought of, hold on, that sounded weird.
Well,
I've in my mind,
that is
I
good
mentally
practice.
prepare.
Yeah.
But I haven't physically been, dedicated the way that I know I feel I
Yeah.
should be. But it's not that I don't want to be.
Well, there's a nightmare scenario of getting up to take a shot and having something malfunction on your bow,
Yeah.
and you don't carry a spare bow.
No, you don't. And there are not great. There are sad, sad stories about people who have had that very scenario.
I broke my release one,
Yeah.
and I tried to shoot a grouse.
Oh, I think,
Yeah. Well, yeah, you were there,
yeah.
but yeah, I just fell, and my hand, my release was all around my wrist,
Yeah.
and I just landed, and it just snapped, just done. So
But
we're not in nightmare scenario right now.
No.
We are in 2 weeks out euphoria.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
The fact that we got out shooting, I think, is amazing. But I am very grateful.
Yeah.
And I think, other than so the biggest memory from the shooting, and this is a good thing that this comes first, is that we learned that our distances and that we had to, we really
Yeah.
had to make some adjustments that you wouldn't
Yeah.
expect. Your gear over time will change. And so
Whatever happened. And that weird string that was loose, and the
I had a
up is down and left is right.
weird
is-
string that is loose is something that we can't exactly portray neither on camera or through the podcast, but just know that there was something weird with my bow. And once I figured it out,
It was like, oh duh.
my gosh. Anyway.
Yeah.
The second thing, though, and it's only as memorable because I still haven't thrown them away, and that's my socks and my shoes are just so infused with cheatgrass.
Did I have a cheatgrass story? I had a cheatgrass.
Yeah,
okay.
and so that was there's a couple extra stories that I didn't get to in the initial introduction, but it has to do with the
So it comes together. Yeah, the first two shots I took, I mean, off in the weeds.
yeah.
Because we started like at 60 yards, and I thought my 50 yard was my 60. Anyways, so I'm off in the weeds, and we
Yeah.
lost a few arrows.
Momentarily. We found them all eventually.
Yes. But through many stomps through dry cheatgrass, and straight up, as soon as I got home, I took my shoes off, and I could not wait to take my shoes off.
Me either.
I peeled my socks off, both of them, and they just went straight into the trash. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about pulling any cheatgrass seeds out of them.
And I'm a little sentimental. They were like they're not a brand new pair
I
of
know.
socks, but they were the newer group of socks that I've had, and
Yeah.
so they're still sitting in the garage. But I just gotta throw them away because it's just not.
Yeah.
I've never seen this much cheatgrass.
It's so bad.
Even the shoes that I was wearing picked up so much cheatgrass that I've got to just toss
I
them.
considered throwing my shoes away, but they're nobles. What does that mean? That's right. You don't know because you're a hunter. Well, my wife's a CrossFitter, and those are freaking nobles. Noble is the sponsor of the CrossFit Games.
Oh wow.
And so it's a big name, and she was mad because I spilt some brake fluid on those shoes, and then some dirt got on them, and they're done. They cannot be worn in public again. That's why I wear them out. They're great shoes. They're really nice shoes, and they're expensive too. My wife hates it. I'm an ogre. When she buys me something nice, I'm gonna ruin it. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's why they're making the Cybertruck tough. Because I'm gonna ruin
Right.
it. They're gonna make the Cybertruck tough, right? They're not making it.
Yeah. they gotta release it, and then let's Never mind. I'm trying to go down a slippery slope.
It's all right. Yeah, that's a slippery slope. Yeah, I know. It's all fantasy when it comes to the Cybertruck. 100%.
Until it's out there on the road, man.
Until it exists,
I
it
saw an
doesn't.
R1T,
Yeah.
a Rivian. You did too.
I did too. I saw a Rivian between just outside of Dillon. I was on the highway outside of Dillon.
Yeah.
I remember where I saw
I
that
remember
Rivian.
where I was at. I was
Yeah?
just outside between Jerome and Twin.
Yeah?
It was on the freeway between Jerome and Twin.
Wow. Clear out here and the nobodies.
Yeah, they're selling one
That's
somewhere
awesome.
in Twin, but we talked about that, and we're not going to get into it on the podcast.
No,
but
no,
it's-
no, no, no.
it's- Yeah. Anyway,
But someday they'll make shoes indestructible. They won't, because elk season exists, and I
that's a
will
good
ruin
point.
them.
All the things that can't be perfected
We're
because elk season
2
exists.
weeks out from leaving town, and you're like looking up boots on the internet.
I was before the podcast.
know.
I'm like,
Hit order. You better hurry. Like I gotta wait. I can't leave town till 4:00 when the mail gets here.
that might be the scenario. I'll be honest.
Don't let it be the scenario, please.
The boots I
He's
have,
got duct tape on his shoes. He's fine.
the boots I have, technically are still in better shape than the last pair I had.
Yeah.
But a part of the sole came off, and it's like the way that it's
Oh,
a
yeah,
bunch of
yeah,
composite material, and we were out putting up cameras, and I was just like, oh crap, and it's like flopping around, so I just took out. I don't know if I had a knife on me or something. I just cut it off, but the problem that I have is I know what part of the shoe came off, and that's the part that I use to dig into steep hillsides, and that's what goes first on my shoes are
Yeah.
the insides or outsides of the front of the toes, because we go on elk hunting in Idaho is on such
There's
steep
no trails.
terrain.
There's no trails.
You have to be ready to do some
Yeah.
stuff with your feet you don't want to have to do. And
One year, quite a few years ago, I had my Danners that I loved. It's like one of my very first awesome high dollar pair, because I would buy cheap boots that would last me the season, and then I would just wear them and kind of wear them out, and then next season I need some more. But these ones, I'm like, they were really expensive. I had to talk to my wife, and we were low on money, and I'm like, please, can I get some of these Danners? So finally, I get the Danners, and it's coming up on elk season. I had them 4 or 5 years, and I'm just like, oh, my feet are protected, and they're awesome. And they're done. They can't last. So I called a friend. I go, I know a guy who can resole them. I know a cobbler, kind of.
Yeah.
He works with leather. I'm like, hey, man, if I brought you these shoes, do you think you can fix them up? Oh, sure, bring them over. And he calls me back, goes, yeah, they're not savable. It's okay. It's okay to ruin shoes. They're not savable.
My first pair of hiking shoes, they were not boots, and I kind of wish they had been, but I broke them in 2009 on Mount Bora.
Oh.
I bought a pair of Danners.
Yeah.
They were nice hiking shoes, but you shouldn't break them in on a mountain climb like that.
That's a tough one.
Because my feet, well, actually, to be honest, I don't think it mattered because every time I've climbed it twice,
Right.
But both times my feet came back in bad shape, except
Yeah.
when we hiked last fall, and this is probably why my boots. Because after that, I got a new pair of Danners.
Yeah.
And then in 2021, during lockdown, I ordered a new pair of the same pair. I reordered them. They showed up at my rental I was living in. And then we hiked Mount Bora, and they weren't broken in on Mount Bora. They were broken in elk country, but I
Right.
wore them on Mount Bora because this new pair were boots, and I knew how well my feet liked them. But I think that's why they've worn out so quick, is because I wore them up and down Bora last August. It was a year ago we hiked Mount Bora in Idaho.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what did them in, is I wore them.
You know, I read an article one time on why antique furniture is antique. It's uncomfortable.
Oh, or nobody wears the furniture up Mount Bora.
I mean, really, you're not going to wear an uncomfortable pair of shoes up Mount Bora. If they're comfortable, you're going to wear them up and you're
Yeah.
going to wear them out.
That's a
So
good
it's okay.
point.
It's a good sign that good
know,
shoes.
This makes a lot of sense. Antiques are antiques because they're uncomfortable, and that's why I really don't care for a lot of antique stuff.
Yeah.
I see stuff on the Antiques Roadshow, and I'm like, that just looks uncomfortable.
There's some history to it. That's great. But it doesn't have any elk on it. So
You're right. Exactly.
what's the point?
So, yeah. So these shoes, again, if I'm gonna go look at them, I'm gonna assess them. I don't know if I'm gonna order new shoes.
Okay.
Where we're going and what we're doing, I don't know that it's as bad as where we were.
Typically go?
Where we typically go.
Yeah.
There's just not as much variety, if that makes
Right,
sense.
right.
I kind of know that terrain.
Yeah,
I know what to
yeah.
expect versus there's still a lot of places we haven't explored in the other place.
Yeah.
Now, there's areas we haven't explored there, but my memory though, you know how memory is.
Yeah. So unreliable.
I could
as,
be
as reliable as elk.
I could be up a creek. So I'm going to seriously entertain buying some new boots, but I don't know if Danners are right for me.
The first time I went up Middle Creek, I had 2 pairs of tennis shoes.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
And they got one pair got soaked because it had rained, and you
Yeah.
walk through the grass and they're just drenched. And I had saved my money for other stuff. I spent like $400 on the GPS because I was going in alone. It's my first backpacking
Yeah.
trip alone. I spent a bunch of money on a GPS, and I spent a bunch of money on a good sleeping bag. I had a
Yeah.
really crappy tent, like a $39 dome tent from Walmart, but I had a really good sleeping bag, a good sleeping pad, and a GPS. And
Yeah.
and I carried so much stuff with me because I just didn't know what I was going to need. I was like it's like 120 pounds of I don't know, maybe. But but even and then when I crossed a creek, I tried to keep one pair of shoes dry. Even when I crossed a creek, I went barefoot
Yeah.
and heavily loaded with an elk.
yeah.
That was one of the most painful.
I remember you telling me that you had a moment where you thought you broke your leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hiking down the trail with elk on my back, and my tennis shoe
Yeah.
slipped, and my knee hit the ground.
Oh.
And I mean, just like a stone, it hit the ground because that's a lot of weight you're carrying. You
Yeah.
can't just brace yourself and kind of dance out of it. Man, one foot slipped and me went down. It
Yeah.
was that, and it was hard. I'm like, oh no. And it was pretty close to the truck.
Okay.
I mean, it was like, those rocks you walk around and
so you would have died within an hour. I'm just kidding. He was right there. He was so close.
So it would have been a great story because I would have limped back to the truck and acted like I limped the entire 11 miles. So that would have been the story going forward.
yeah.
But, you just worry because, one little injury and, hey, everything's done. It's time to go and be minimalistic about it.
Yeah.
So good times. Oh, I'm so excited for elk season.
It's right.
I'm
on-
so excited.
I'm excited to go back to Middle.
Yeah, Middle Creek.
Middle Creek.
Yeah.
It's I haven't been there since 2012.
Yeah.
I was having a bit of a man tantrum back then.
Bah.
But it was really a matter of trying to make sure I understood what the hell I was doing. And
Right.
I there's sometimes you just need to have what would you call it in Australia? You'd call it a walkabout.
Yeah.
And you kind of get your senses back together and you start to figure out, okay, I see what's going on here. So
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a good stepping back to really gain perspective. And
It's so great. I can't wait for you to come up there with me and Jared again. It's been 10 years.
10 years.
It's been 10 years.
10
oh my
years.
gosh, since we've been together up there.
Yeah, and I've been back there a couple times, but not to hunt. I've been up there
Yeah.
fishing and hiking.
And I've been back there a few times, but not with you or anyone.
Yeah.
10 years. Why does it go by so fast?
And 10 years ago, I would have swore, and I told you this before the podcast.
Yeah.
10 years ago, prior to the season, I was so gung ho because of the previous year's experience that
Yeah.
I'm a loss of words. Talking with an aggressive bull, trying to protect his harem from other bulls, and
Yeah.
that was the scenario in 2012. The year prior, it was just a bull looking to get a harem. He was just by himself, and there were other elk in the area that were bugling with him. Wow. And I remember when I got up to the elevation where he was at, where he had been at, because he wasn't coming down to us. So I went up.
Yeah.
And it was just we didn't quite have the presence of mind to know what we needed to do in that scenario, and daylight just went too quick.
Yeah.
But there was an elk with a small harem of cows across the valley from where I saw him at when we were bugling in 2011. Was it right? 2000.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it was 2011, 2012, and then 13.
It was 2010, and then you missed a year. So we had a big screaming match in 2010.
Oh, it was 2010. I
Yeah.
couldn't do 11.
Yeah,
But then 2000.
because you were in school.
Yeah, 2012. Because I was moving back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
2011 is when I moved back.
Yeah.
To Twin Falls, and so
Yeah, so you didn't come back till 2012, I think.
yeah, I thought our first.
Anyway.
it doesn't matter either way. It's been a while. Is the point?
It's been a decade at least. Yeah.
So I'll be eager to see how things go. Again, my 2 years of experience up there, and I'm interested in the data gathering, because am I going to see what I've seen every Labor Day weekend that I've been up there? Now, granted, 10 years down the road, but prior to that, 2 years of being up there, and it sounds like there was a year split between those 2 years. I saw similar behaviors of aggressive elk and cows, and so I don't know. I don't know, and I think that's partly why I mentioned to you last year at the end of the season. I go, hey, why don't we go up Middle Creek?
Yeah.
Because part of that motivation was probably we saw squat in our traditional grounds. That is usually a honey hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was the least amount of activity from elk we've seen in our typical place that I've seen in the 10 years being there. So needing a change up is okay. And what did I just say? Taking a step back gives you perspective. I really shouldn't be putting all my elk in one basket.
Well, we're not. I mean, you're gonna go with our traditional spot, and you're gonna go with Middle Creek.
Yeah.
Both, right, this year?
Yeah. There's the two outings, and I'm sad because I don't really have the time to really make the second outing more worth it. Because I'd like to be up in what do we call the other place?
The traditional spot?
The
You can call it
traditional
Elk
spot.
Ridge. Just call it Elk Ridge, man.
Elk Ridge, yeah, the lounge.
Elk Ridge.
I really like what the lounge has to offer.
Man,
and I
after
think
phone scoping.
after all the
This year?
after all the scoping we've done
Yeah.
out there, after
yeah.
all the trail cams, there's so much activity in that lounge.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not just setting up at the lounge all the time? Let them come to us.
That's a good question. That is a fair question. And we did. Last year we set up, remember I was taking a nap? We were set up a little bit below the lounge when those guys came through bugling.
I don't remember that being last year.
Wow. Our memories are so different.
Yeah. But I do remember guys coming through bugling.
Yeah.
I just don't remember it being last year.
Yeah, I remember. I
remember.
I think it was last year.
I thought that was in the Ripper, but
No, we had come over to the lounge, and they'd come up to maybe that was the Ripper. See, now you're messing with my memory. Anyway,
goody.
Well, anyway, they're similar. They're similar spots,
Yeah.
and
They're adjacent ravines.
yeah,
So,
and yeah, I think because they went straight over to the butt crack.
yeah.
Yeah, they didn't come across Elk Ridge. I think they were up in the lounge,
Yeah.
and just hiking and bugling, and just hiking and bugling. Just seeing what's out there. And it's so hot last year. Every day was hot. Officially, the weather forecast is out for our first day.
What's
of
it
elk
supposed to
hunting.
look like?
It's like it like it did for the previous 10.
Hot.
Highs. No. So for Arco, Idaho, is
Okay.
where I looked up. Arco, Idaho was 82
Oh, okay.
as the high, and in the low 50s for the lows. So I would expect the lows to be a little bit lower and the highs to be pretty close. Upper 70s, maybe hit 80 in the mountains, and get maybe into the 40s or 30s for overnight. So
Okay.
that's what I would expect for the first week. I don't. As we get closer, we will look. We'll always look at more weather forecasts, and hopefully maybe there'll be some switches and some storms going through. But I don't know. We'll see.
Being cold up there is one thing. So I was thinking about the water situation from, so many years ago. So curiously speaking, you take one of those water. Well, no, actually, never mind. I have that 10-liter thing I bought last time. So never mind. I was going to go into a whole story that I didn't need to because I already had this conversation with myself. Because I'm like, what I thought I was going to need to bring was one of those big plastic 5-gallon jugs.
Oh yeah.
No, I've got a 10-liter.
That 10 liters, beautiful.
And I've got the it's MSR.
Yeah.
And I've got the MSR thing that connects right to it.
Right.
And so
And you know when I hang those up in the tree, right? And you're basically running water.
Yeah.
You can go over there. You can fill a canteen. You can wash your hands even. And
Oh, I don't have that. Where you fill the bag and it has the filter in it. I don't have that.
No. I mean, so I have two. So the filter bag, which I love my filter bag.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a drink, and anybody can use it. Just if I got it here, you want some water? Great,
Get
have
it.
some water. It's so efficient.
Where was that in 2010? I'm just gonna say because I froze my
Yeah,
ace off.
yeah. So that was one of the first things when you get out there and you backpack to hunt. You're like, and I see these guys on YouTube like with a life straw.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Life
how?
straws rock.
How?
I never used one, but I bought them for my kids because I bought them backpacks and I gave them all like survival gear and life straws and fire starters.
How
and-
can you live on a life straw?
Well, I don't know about that because it's really a backup in
Yeah.
the scenario that I play out in
But
my
you
life.
see these guys, I don't know, maybe they're just making videos. Maybe they just
Maybe.
want something to make a video, but they're like, no, this is all I need is a life straw. I'm like, I'm packing around at least a gallon of water at all times, ready to make hot cocoa, ready to make Gatorade,
Ready to be hydrated. That's my thing.
hydrated and calorified. Is that a word? I'm looking for some calories. I'm looking for cheap, easy calories.
And
hot
water provides
hot
those?
sweet beverage or cold sweet beverage.
Okay.
Are
So
where
you're mixing something.
Yeah, even boxers. When they squirt that water in their mouths between
Yeah.
rounds. Even that has
Like
sugar in
cocaine
it.
or something. Yeah.
Has sugar in it.
Oh,
It has sugar in it because they need that energy. Well, a little bit of cocaine, but that was originally Coca-Cola, so it's okay.
So my mom told me.
So I'm really excited about elk season. I know it's different than last year because we've been talking about it for a year.
Yeah, but I think part of the draw this year is that it's an area that I haven't been to in a while.
Yeah.
In a long time, as we've established. So I just kind of care, and I'm also trying to decide which route I want to take because there's two different ways you can get in there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
So do I take the back way or the other way, the main way through?
That's up to you, right? You tell me. I mean, I proposed hey, let's go up Wright Creek.
No, I mean just to get to the parking spot.
Oh.
See, that's where my brain's at. I'm like, I'll deal with the trail when I get to the trail.
Yeah.
It's my brain is like, well, which road do I want to take to get there?
I
'Cause
drive
there's a
through
couple different-
Craters. I drive through Arco. I'll stop and get some pizza, maybe some whiskey. Buy some not rot gut whiskey and pack that in. Not rot gut. I don't know what that is, but you know whiskey better than
Pendleton.
not Pendleton.
No, I would pack Pendleton.
Oh, Pendleton. Okay, I'll just get some Pendleton. That's great. We can do shots instead of beers. Backpacking beers is tough. That's a lot.
It's a high.
It's a volume.
Yeah, with low punch, where you want high punch, low volume.
Yeah. So we can make
In fact, it was surprising to you because I told you there's such a thing as powdered alcohol, but it's
Yeah.
illegal in most states.
really.
Yeah,
Wow.
powdered, and you just mix it with water. But there's a lot of the advocates come from people who backpack a lot. I want to be able to go out in the mountains, but I can't pack the volume.
Yeah.
and so I want to be able to pack the powder.
Now, normally I can just pack a pint of vodka and get good and drunk, but I want to get roaring drunk.
And
I want to have parties where the squirrels talk about it years later.
Right.
I mean, I want an epic drunk in the woods. I'm not
But-
there yet. You know
but
what?
it's some sort of process where they encapsulate the small. I don't know. It's a weird thing. The alcohol
yeah.
is liquid, but it's a weird technology.
Well, I talked to you about Via Coffee.
Yeah.
About how the guy who invented Via Coffee developed a way to freeze dry living cells so that they could be reanimated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good source.
I wish I cared about Via.
You know what? I
I'm
found
too much of a coffee snob.
I
I tried.
know.
I gave it its due diligence, and for me, it's just not going to work.
Hey man, listen. My brother does a French press deep into elk season. And he stands there while the elk are bugling in the dark with his pinky out, sipping on his coffee.
Pinky
man.
out.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, the last time I went to Middle Creek is when I did the French, because I'm just like, the Via wasn't doing it for me. So the only thing I wish I had,
Yeah.
and technology is going to catch up to it. In fact, it's probably already out there. I wish I could have ground the beans in my tent,
Oh yeah.
but I ground the beans at home, put them in a plastic bag.
That's lame. Why don't you just drink plastic? Just melt the plastic.
I packed little packets of sugar and little packets of creamer.
Yeah.
The little pods of half and half creamer.
It doesn't do it just doesn't have the same effect.
Oh, it had the same effect because it was
Is it?
fresh
Okay.
pressed coffee with sugar and creamer, like you'd get at a diner, but better because it's my hand selected coffee that I prefer. And when I say mine, it's not to sound egotistical.
No, no, no,
It's like
it doesn't.
you pick your coffee, I pick my coffee. I'm just saying you
Right.
pick what you like,
Right.
and that's what I had. And you know what? It was really good coffee. In fact. The funny story about that.
Okay.
Because we were out with Jared on that. I made coffee that morning
When was it? Okay, first
This-
of all, when was this?
in the middle of Middle Creek when we.
Oh,
in
really? When
2012.
Charlie was with us. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we had Charlie. We had. Anyway, so I made coffee this morning. This particular morning. It's the first morning we're all there.
Yeah.
I'm drinking the coffee, and I'm like, this is so much better than anything I've had when I've been hiking, and it's giving me the sweats because it's so good. Like the
Yeah.
caffeine is so potent, it's so
Yeah.
delicious. And that's the same morning that I'm like, okay, well, I have the caffeine I need. You and I start hiking, and before we knew it, Jared, who we didn't know it was Jared, we didn't even know when he started hiking, but all of a sudden there he is,
Yeah.
hiking up the hill.
Like, hey, there's a dude there. Why is that dude there? How is a dude? Why is
Who's
dudes
that dude?
Who are dudes hunting back here? I mean, there's no one back
He's
here.
just like, oh,
Look at him go. Oh, wait, I know that guy. Hey, that's Jared.
And
Jared,
I'm like,
what's up?
Jared, did you steal my coffee?
I have a new hack for my Via though.
Okay, what's your hack?
2 spoonfuls of Swiss Miss. It's a delicious mocha. Oh my gosh. So no creamer. You got the creamer and your sugar in with the Swiss Miss.
Yeah, no, that's so.
Yeah.
So
So it's deep end.
Okay, you want me to take it a step further?
Take me there.
Because if I can
Take
figure
me
out
there.
if I can find them, I will bring them.
Okay.
But I don't do coffee hiking anymore because I don't need that sweat
Right.
situation. So actually,
Right, I know.
But if I would go back and do this again, I'd bring my French press. I wouldn't bring any sugar.
Yeah.
I would bring cocoa
Okay.
and coconut creamer, and it's almond joy in a mug. Oh, you're welcome.
I've heard of that.
I've done it a lot.
Yeah.
Coconut creamer with hot cocoa and coffee. It's like almond joy in a mug.
Oh man,
And
I
it's
love them almond
delicious.
joys. I love them almond joys.
Or is it Mounds? Did we have almond in that?
No, well, the Mounds is dark chocolate. Almond joys is milk chocolate.
But there's no almonds
I
in
know.
the coffee. So I guess almond Mounds or no joy Mounds.
Okay. Never mind. All right. That went too far.
I don't know where you took it.
Yeah, well,
I was
I
strictly
took
in my coffee mug.
I took it where your face took it. All right. Let's talk about elk
Please
season.
don't freeze
Have
frame that.
Have I told you how excited I am for elk season? It's coming up. It's only been 30 minutes.
Please tell me how excited you've been.
I was on Google Earth for probably an hour and a half.
You on Google Earth? You don't say. Tell me more.
I know. I recognize trees in elk season from Google Earth. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this tree from Google Earth. That is true.
Yeah.
And I know it's true for you.
Yeah. Well, I proved that before we came in here because we looked at our Middle Creek and I was looking at stuff and I was like, hey, that's that spot where they had that elk.
That's
where
right.
We found an
That's
elk
right.
carcass.
That's right. And I know
So-
that tree.
And then I said, and that's where I saw Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Although that was a little bit less.
And but
Serious,
but it's just funny that I'm on Google Earth enough.
Earth. Google
No.
Earth.
Yeah, that's a tree. I know that tree. That's a good tree.
Yeah.
That's a good. And there are dozens, if not 100.
You know, the
different
burn, the
trees.
burn in our traditional hunt spot. Right?
Elk Ridge?
Yeah, Elk Ridge.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that it didn't get the leaning tree.
Yeah.
There's something special about that leaning
Man.
tree that I just have always appreciated, even though it tried to take your eye out one time.
the first time I met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I think the tree was
Really?
like, hey, buddy, you're not even going to say hi? Whoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when that tree goes.
It's going to be a
And
sad
it's
day.
gonna go. It's gonna go. It's leaning so far,
It's-
and it's such a big tree right on this big ridge.
Big, what is,
It's- we'll always sit underneath the tree because it has such a nice canopy. When it was raining and snowing,
Yeah.
you can sit underneath there, and it's a great place to spot.
yeah.
It's a great vantage point.
We watched that bull elk come down and take the other elk's hair or
Cow.
Cow.
Yeah. It's like, all right, you can leave now. What's up, baby? You're with me.
man, that was
Come with me.
That was a morning to. It's like it's weird because you go from hunting to just appreciating nature.
Yeah.
Like we could have hunted though, and we tried a little bit later, but we were just kind of enamored by the majesty of what we had
My
witnessed.
boots were soaked and were frozen solid like steel toe boots that morning.
Wow.
I mean, that was like
Yeah.
the last morning we were out there, and we had had
Yeah.
a long weekend. And I am sipping hot cocoa like a madman, just trying to stay alive.
Yep.
And yeah, that was it. But to have all of that in the emotion of, because right there's this such conflicting emotion. Look at what I'm witnessing. I can't believe I'm seeing a bull elk take a cow elk from
Right.
another bull elk. And oh my, I'd do anything to be home right now. Right?
Yeah.
I
It's
can't
a-
believe I'm witnessing this, and I don't want to be here.
It's a confliction of
So tough. Yeah.
yeah.
It was so tough. It was such a great memory. Yeah. Yeah, I'll remember that till my deathbed for sure.
Yeah.
That was a good morning. And it was underneath that tree.
Yeah, we sat underneath
Yeah.
that tree.
It's a good tree. I recognize that tree on Google Earth. That's one of the
Yeah, that's one of those-
first and easiest
And I think that's why I
ones.
brought it up, because it's like it's one of those trees
Yeah.
when you see it, whether you're in person or on Google Earth, you just see it. You know what it is.
There's another one up there on that ridge, the Giving Tree, that burned down.
Yeah, the
very
Giving-
sadly burned down. We call
Yeah.
it the Giving Tree because it's a white pine, and
The
one year,
Idaho State tree. Yeah,
yeah, and one year it coned,
yeah.
and we carried bags of super heavy, so far up in the woods.
It was like picking apples off an apple
Yeah.
tree. It was amazing. I'd never seen that, and I had so much appreciation. We called it the Giving Tree because I had this. Once upon, well, let's see, it was 2013. I sat underneath. Okay. Let me backtrack.
Yeah.
So 2013, my first year up there, I had the two bulls. They were both in velvet. There was a 4-point and a spike.
Yeah.
I spent too much time debating which one I wanted to shoot. When I finally decided on the 4-point, they finally decided. Anyway, so that spot I came back to the next day, and I sat underneath this tree for a while.
the Giving Tree.
No,
Oh, okay.
it was a white pine that was right next to where this had occurred on my first
Oh,
day.
okay.
And I found a little pine nut.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is like a seed pod. I'm like, oh, this is a pine nut. Oh, pine nuts have shells. Like, I didn't realize that because I've eaten pine nuts on salads and stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah, pine nuts come in a shell. So I cracked this little tiny pine nut. And I ate this little tiny pine nut seed from a white pine. And I was like, man, that was delicious.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find any more pine nuts. And so when we found many years later, the Giving Tree had coned.
Yeah.
I
I
was
think a
just
lot
like-
of trees up there were coning at the same time.
Yeah, I grabbed one
Yeah.
in June. We went up there in June that year.
That's right.
And when you had your drone initially,
Yeah.
and I pulled a developing cone off a tree, and it it was really cool. A little bit an underdeveloped cone off of one of these white pines, and it shrank down like a shrunken head because it wasn't fully developed. It wasn't
Yeah.
fully mature, and so it dried out. It was
Yeah.
so but I kept all these specimens, and I found all kinds of different things. Like I have a white pine cone that sealed itself off, but was clearly like bitten in half to get to the seeds. I've
Oh.
shown you this, right?
Yeah.
And so I found that when I was hunting up there in 2014. I was by myself and I hiked over and I found this half of a pine cone. I'm like, well, this is a pine cone, but pine cones usually have these things that spread out and they flake off. But
Right.
this is like the pine cone was solid. And I actually put it down initially and I started hiking again. I was like, wait a minute, that was too cool to leave. So I went back and I picked it up. So I have that now. And then when we saw that the Giving Tree coning,
Yeah.
things just started to come together for me. And then I actually bought a book. And actually, when you went up there with your drone that initial
Yeah.
time, I had the book at that point, and I knew what I was looking at in terms of the book was. And I should tell the audience this, whoever you are, it's a book on trees, the different trees of North America.
Okay.
And I just wanted to know what the trees were we're looking at. So that, understanding what the white pine was kind of, I knew
Yeah.
it was the state tree, but I didn't.
Yeah, but it was a quantum leap in understanding and differentiating it from the other. It really,
Yeah,
and for
the blue,
me,
from the spruce trees to
Right.
the pine. It's,
to say, okay, this for sure is this kind of tree. Why have I not known that my
yeah,
whole life?
and so coincidentally, and I've got to remember to do it this year if I have the wherewithal to remember and the time to do it. But you said all of the seeds that you brought home got eaten by varmints in your garage.
yeah, that's right.
But I have in a little cubby here in my coat,
Yeah.
above my coat here in my house, all the seeds that I have, and I want to bring them back up there, and I want to spread them around.
Oh, really?
And let them.
Oh,
take
that's a good
root
idea. That's a
if
good
they
idea.
will. They should still have some viability to
Yeah.
them. But I just want to kind of give back. If the Giving Tree gave
Yeah,
to me,
not much longer. Not much longer.
Yeah.
Seeds lose a little bit of viability over time.
Yeah.
I don't. I'd have to understand more about pine trees. But the Giving Tree was more than that because
It wasn't just
it
the
had
seeds.
some really long branches that came out over a really flat area.
Yeah.
And I camped there.
Yep.
We've cooked there.
We've had lunch
We've
there.
Sat there.
We've scoped. It just, and it's on the way to the lounge.
It's such a great spot. It's such a great spot.
I was
and it
sad.
burned down.
I was sad
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah.
Just, but fond memories you gain when you're out in the woods.
Out of
and
just a
it's
tree.
like,
Just a tree.
yeah.
There's even that big fat log in the middle of that field
Yeah.
that burned.
Yeah. There was a huge deadfall that was,
Huge.
and we have pictures of it.
Yeah.
And the year before, well, it was the year of the burn. We were
Yeah.
camped up there
Yeah.
before the burn, and I found that stupid water bottle that somebody left in the frickin' stump.
That's right.
Next to our camp, and
Yeah.
that really gets under my skin. Pack your garbage
Yeah.
out. But that stump even burned.
Yeah. Yeah, where we camped. I mean, it's just ash.
Yeah. What's funny is we were camped there, and we're like the whole time. I'm worried. I don't know if you were worried, but there's a lot of dead trees, and I'm just like something's gonna fall on us in our sleep.
So yeah, here's
Now we don't have to worry about that in that spot.
Here's my philosophy, and I've read a lot of books, and I like to read books about guys who go off and have adventures. And this guy was having an adventure in South America, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just look at this perfect place. I'm gonna put my tent here, and it's right at the base of this big dead tree. And the guy says, oh, I would never put my tent there, ever. Man, that's a bad idea. No, I'll be fine. The guy says, and he goes to sleep, and he goes to sleep. Everything's fine. And he realizes that if you take that chance every night of your life, it will end your life.
Yeah.
But if you take that chance occasionally,
yeah.
right, you're more than likely going to survive, because there are some places up in Middle Creek,
Yeah.
sketchy as heck.
And the place in our traditional grounds where you heard the gunshots when I was snoozing,
Yes.
that spot freaked me out because of the way the tree.
So
were.
I put my tent up against some deadfall.
Yeah.
So at least I could squeak out some dying words to my phone as a video.
Has you been
Tell my
impaled
wife
by
whatever. Anyway,
tell my wife that somebody thought David was a monster and shot their girl in the middle of the dark.
that was David's fault. He was snoring too loud.
The tree said, "Enough." All right.
Anyway,
so what journey what stories will we get to conjure up this year? It's kind of the thing to look forward to is how will this go?
the memories, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's always something unique. It's always something different. Even though last year was a bit of a bummer because we only got within 70 yards of any animals.
Oh, it was so hot all year.
And I didn't have much time, about the same amount of time this year. I'm actually squeezing in an extra day on purpose because last year kind of was sad, but we'll see what happens. And I'm excited to see, you have more time than I, so I'm excited to see what you come up with when I'm not able to go out with you. And who knows? And maybe we won't have to go out after the first weekend.
Maybe we just get to go out.
Yeah.
That's what I told Jared. I go, dude, you come down to Idaho, we'll kill a bull for me. Then I've my tag's filled,
Or David, probably David first.
and David too. Then I said, because you only have 2 weekends, so I was counting weekends. So I go, I'll come up to Montana, I'll hunt and kill an elk with you. Then you can come back down to Idaho, and you can kill another elk in Idaho.
Yeah.
Because he has a tag for Idaho and a tag for Montana. So anyway, that's absolutely going to happen.
Oh, yes.
Right? I don't know what year that's absolutely going to happen, or over how many years.
Oh, it'll happen.
But I also am going in to the Sawtooth Zone.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
I'm going to bring my bow.
Because you can't get the elk, but you can get.
There's a wolf,
Yep.
and there's deer, and there's
We saw
bear.
plenty of wolf scat up there.
Yeah. I certainly wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind a bear or a wolf. So,
All right.
anyways, So we're excited about elk season. I think that was the whole premise of the elk season podcast
Was
to get jazzed up for elk season all year long.
Instead
and
of-
look at us. I'm in a froth.
I mean, technically, you're always excited, but to keep it more forefront and more frothy, if
And
you
more
will.
frothy, a little lathery, if you will.
Yeah. Does your
Lathered
froth have a cool design in it?
Um,
We were talking about coffee earlier. I just thought I'd ask.
yeah, if you can't get me a nice cappuccino with a design in it,
An
why
elk-
am I even hunting?
An elk design in it. Like you need to have an antler or the bust of an elk.
Oh.
I mean, this won't do if it can't.
You know,
happen.
you know, they have ones that will just print it now.
They do.
Yeah, yeah. You just go, yeah. Give me Pat Sajak's head. Boom, and you go. You, you can sip on Pat Sajak's head.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know, if you're into that kind of thing.
RSTLNE, let's go.
Are you ready
I'm
to
ready.
actually talk about this stuff, this elk season stuff? I know we've been talking about it for a little bit, but
Elk season stuff. You mean the conservation?
Yeah.
news, yeah.
Well, conservation is part of elk season.
Well, yeah. So we're gonna start with bears.
Okay.
Sorry to bear
The
bad
bears.
news to you. That was You know what I think? You know, this has been a great podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
In Missoula, a bear has entered a home, and it was there apparently for about 30 minutes. So tell me more about that. Do you know anything more about that story?
Well, first of all, you're in Missoula, so you
Okay.
need to clarify. Was this a black bear or a grizzly? No, I know it's a black bear.
It looked like a black. Yeah, it's a black. Well, it's black.
Yeah. So no. Other than understanding the ecosystem, the wild ecosystem infringing on the civilized ecosystem, it's just there's this interaction zone.
A is for and B is for bear.
Bear.
Bear. So I don't know. This shouldn't make me giggle,
Uh-oh.
but it does. And I don't know if I think it's just nervous laughter. So I'm not trying to be mean or cruel towards anybody about this laughter.
I like it already.
But when people are upset when nature does its thing,
Yeah.
it kind of makes me giggle.
Yeah.
Probably nervously and somewhat
Yeah.
non-nervously. But the point is, a bear tore through an elk carcass in front of people.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how the people reacted, but I just see that and I go, oh, there are some people that were horribly disturbed.
Yeah.
Nature's nature.
We have talked about it many times on this podcast, and we will talk about it again. Nature is rough, man. Drowning is the saint's way to go.
Yeah.
You're lucky if you drowned.
This, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to segue to the next article. This has to do with bears, but it's not in the same vein as death and destruction. But I will say that I kind of wish that I would take some more time and program some of these push buttons on the pads for this because
Yeah.
this next one needs the push button to be like boom chicka bom bom.
Oh, yeah?
Because Grizzly Bear 399 has been missing, but they suspect that she has found her homeboy, right? Grizzly, what's it? Bruno. Ooh, boom chicka bow bow.
Stop moving your hand like that. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why I was doing it that way. It's like, but luckily it was out of camera. But everybody can see where my hand was.
Yeah, but it's creeping me out plenty. So ease up.
Chicka bow bow. Hey,
Yeah,
let's-
this is how it goes, man.
Hey.
They just the object
wait,
of life.
hold on.
Is to create more life.
Is nature making you a little uneasy?
Your nature is. Bow chicken. Well, let me just do this for a minute.
Hey.
What's up? I know, right?
I don't think I realized I was doing that until you pointed it out. I'm not happy with what I've done, but it is what it is.
But that is nature, and you've got to perpetuate the species. And 399 is famous because she's had so many,
Lots
like
and
over
lots of
20,
babies.
like over 20 kids. And here she is hooking up again. You hussy.
In fact, some hunters, not hunters, but some people who hike. She's from Yellowstone?
Yeah.
Yeah, so some people in Yellowstone have actually seen her, and when
yeah.
they see her, they actually hear "bum chicka bow bow," because it's just a song that plays whenever she shows up.
Yeah, well, there was another bear famous for having a bunch of babies, and her babies got killed this year by another boar.
Oh, that's right.
because killing those babies sends her into heat
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. And it's called infanticide.
Yes.
And
If you want to put a $3 word on it, maybe that's a $4 word. If you
it's
say
more
it.
of a bomb chicka wah, wah, wah.
That's terrible. Infanticide. Bon chicka. Wah, wah. All right, we've gone too far. All right, what's next? $3.99.
Oh my gosh. Grizzly bears are kind of like me. They're a little lazy.
Oh yeah.
And they want to
Oh,
hike.
you're lazy. No.
They want to hike where it's easy to hike.
Yeah, we
And
talked
so-
about this last week.
We did. And so
but I
a
found
story
the
showed
article.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
So yeah, and you see it. These guys are walking down a trail, and they're like, "Oh, there's a bear! Back up! Keep backing up! Back up some more! The bear's still coming! Back up! So keep back! You know what? Keep backing up! You know what? Let's run forward and turn around and see if he's still there. Of course, they're still there.
Yeah.
It is efficiency of movement to be on a trail, and
Yeah.
especially for bears.
They recognize that.
And they're
they
like,
just use
yeah,
it.
hang out. So, anyways, just a bear safety tip: if a bear is coming down the trail at you, maybe get off the trail, let him go, let him
Yeah.
play through. I mean, maybe keep a safe distance,
Yeah.
but just don't be on the trail at a
Don't
distance.
try to
Be
pet
off
it
the
when
trail.
it passes.
Yeah.
So
Bad enough you got to smell it.
yeah. Oh
Ooh.
my gosh. Coincidentally enough, in Montana, we were there for our family reunion in
Yeah.
July. Across from what used to be the county market was a place at the fishing game where they have,
Yeah.
and it's still there. I drove by and it was closed because we were there on a Sunday or something like
What
that.
was it? What place?
Well, it's a Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks animal.
Oh yes,
Place.
yes.
And that's where I remember smelling bears for the first time,
Yeah.
because you'd go down there and you'd see bear cubs that would have been rescued or whatever,
Yeah,
and they'd be
yeah.
rehabilitating them to get them back in the
And
wild.
deer,
Yeah.
and antelope, and elk. They had tons.
It
of
was
stuff.
like
That was a neat
it was
place.
like a little zoo, but it wasn't. It was
It was a zoo of just Montana animals, just
were
rescued
being
orphans.
rehabilitated.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, that was closed when I was there, but that reminded me of like how I know bears are so freaking smelly.
Yeah.
That's where I remember the smell from, because they were always there and it was always just really stinky.
Yeah.
Other than the time I found fresh bear scat on a trail,
Yeah.
just where was I? I was in the Ripper.
Really?
Yeah. So if you follow the trail high,
Yeah.
in the lounge, instead of going up to the Giving Tree area, if you go up where those elk went and you kind of go into the Ripper that way.
Okay.
So I was way up on the
Oh,
trail, and I
okay.
was on a
Game trail. Yeah.
and I had come across some scat, and I was like, that looks way
Yeah.
fresh. And then I looked closer at it, and you know, I didn't put my hand in it, but you kind of get a whiff.
But you
of
get
it.
a stick and you poke it.
It was bear.
Yeah.
It was bear.
So I remember running into wolf and bear scat a lot on the game trails. A lot. It almost seemed like when you see bear poop and wolf poop, sometimes you go, was that a hunter?
Yeah.
Right? It kind of has
Yeah.
the same shape and pile.
Sure.
And I'm like, why is it right on the trail?
Probably not a hunter.
Well,
But I get what you're
hunters
saying.
use the trail.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it be a hunter? I was more surprised to find out it was probably a bear.
Yeah.
Or a wolf. But now I realize, of course, the game trails are not just for elk
Yeah.
and deer. They're for all game.
In fact, I was
Yeah.
admiring when we were looking at Google Earth before the podcast,
Yeah.
where we're going to go hunting. You can see the game trails that are up on
Yeah.
Middle Creek.
I can show you some game trails. I mean, you can go in and look.
Yeah.
But all the things I infer
Yeah.
from just seeing a game trail.
We talk a lot about active management of predators.
Yes.
And so let's segue into the active management of predators in Montana, particularly le wolf.
The wolves. Yeah.
They are touting success with what they say here: ample hunting and trapping opportunities have managed the predator population of wolves in Montana.
Yeah. Ample hunting and trapping has helped them manage the wolves. I saw a report. I kind of like the way Montana does things. I watched a video on stream management, on fish management.
Okay.
And they say, well, here's the traditional way is the power companies come in, they dam the river, and they say, don't worry, we'll start a hatchery and we'll put fish in the river. So they start a hatchery and they put fish in the river. Now sportsmen still have fish. And Montana says, you know what? We want a sustainable fish population.
Okay.
We don't want you just to hatch fish and put them in there. We want to create habitat for these fish. And they looked at it and they talked to colleges and they, you get a lot of free work from some colleges. Really good work.
Some graduate student needs to do some sort of dissertation.
Yeah. And there's beaver dams and there's things that get put in there and help create the habitat for more fish when other people's policy, because Montana and fishing are a really
pretty
important,
synonymous. Yes.
After a river runs through it, you really think about that, and so a lot of people want that a traditional fishing experience.
Yeah, and that traditional fish. Speaking of a river runs through it, it dawned on me just how important that has become to Montana when we were there at the gates of the Rockies.
Yeah,
because they were touting, his work.
Yeah,
I mean, there was other work they were touting.
Gates of the Mountains.
Gates of the Mountains. Right. Anyway, it wasn't surprising to me because I grew up in Montana and I love that movie, but it's still something after almost 30 years.
Yeah.
30-year-old movie
years.
Still has an impact where they're telling you on a tour, this guy who only wrote a couple of books, one of them was this movie.
Yeah.
And then he wrote the other book, which was about a situation that happened up there.
It's called Young Men and Fire.
Yeah, Young Men and
The
Fire.
Man Gulch Fire. Here's a funny story. Here's a funny aside, and I know we're running low on time, but when the Unabomber was in jail in Helena, okay, he was held in Helena for weeks.
Yeah.
Oliver Stone came and stayed at the nicest hotel in Helena, which at the time was the Best Western. It's not the nicest now.
No.
He stayed at the Best Western because it was big news. Oh yeah, this guy's at the Best Western. Just down the road from the Best Western was a bar that Michael Keaton had been to, and some other people go to this bar. But he said, Oliver Stone, while Ted Kaczynski's in jail, Oliver Stone's in town. He's saying, we're thinking about making a movie about the Man Gulch Fire.
Huh.
Didn't believe it for a second. I didn't believe it for a second. I thought he was there to try and talk to Ted Kaczynski.
Wow.
I really believe that. But I don't know. But the official word was he was there to look at the Man Gulch Fire. Yeah. Anyway, Young Men and Fire is the name of that book.
Hey, tell me about this image that you're going to flash up on the screen for people on the podcast for the YouTube. It has... the story is great, but the photo is even better. And it's like elk are wrestling. It's like weird. It's like this elk is like flipping. Can elk fly is one of the taglines.
Wow. Why do I not remember this? Oh, are they just... They're just engaged in battle?
Is that what that is?
Oh, yeah, they are. It looks like they're on a golf course, though. So you know what? Let them play through.
Exactly. In fact, I worked for in Pocatello. I worked for a maintenance company at a mobile home or a manufactured home community.
Sure.
And a couple of the guys that I worked with there, at different times, worked for the same golf course in Flagstaff, or a golf course around Flagstaff, Arizona. And one of the things they both talked about was having the horrible. Or having not horrible, but having to deal with the herds of elk that would come down, and they had to go chase them off the golf course so golfers could play through.
Yep. I think Prescott is that right? Prescott, Arizona.
Maybe it's Prescott is what I'm thinking.
Prescott is somewhere. Flagstaff, and Prescott. There's some interesting things about Flagstaff. I read a book called The Sports Gene, and it's like, well, if it's only genetics, then it doesn't matter how hard you train. But obviously, it's not just all genetics. So it's not just all how you train. It's also genetics, right? As much as you love basketball, if you don't have a 6.5-foot wingspan, you're not going to get very far. So they talk about this. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm excited about elk season.
You're talking about genetics, elk, and Arizona.
The Sports Gene and Flagstaff, Arizona. So are you familiar with trail runners? They're like long distance, 100-kilometer trail runners. It's like ultra marathon.
Yeah.
Ultra marathon trail running. It's a huge, huge sport. Like 5 of the top 6 in the world are from Flagstaff, Arizona.
Wow.
The Sports Gene talked about being born at an elevation close to sea level, and your lungs can develop. Your lungs can develop. Yeah, your lungs can develop at sea level, but about round 3 or 4, you go to a very high altitude, and your lungs mature at this altitude.
Yeah.
And that is Flagstaff, Arizona. It's like 7,000 feet above sea level.
Oh, wow.
All of the best, all of them. I mean, record breaker after record breaker after record breaker is from Flagstaff, Arizona.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Because guys, competitive athletes build themselves hyperbaric chambers in their house to sleep in that simulate 8,000 feet above sea level. Anyway.
And there's a lot of stories out there of other athletes and other type of sport that, you have to acclimate to the.
Yes.
Like in NFL talks a lot,
Yeah.
or doesn't talk a lot about it, but in the NFL, I've heard a lot about how if you're going to play in Denver, you need to get to the Mile High Stadium.
Right.
Right.
Right. That was one of the things in the Mile High Stadium. It's not Mile High Stadium anymore.
No.
But they used to have in the opponent's locker room, Mile High Stadium, elevation 5,280 feet, right in the opponent's locker room. Like, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but
yeah. Some floaters save the day, I guess, on the life of an elk calf. My question about them saving this elk calf was the elk calf abandoned by its parent because of man's intervention and man needed to try to help bring
no,
or was it just
this is just an unnecessary, you get the warm fuzzies right here,
anthropomorphic
right here,
fuzzies,
just a little warm fuzzies, anthropomorphic warm fuzzies.
Thank you. Anthropomorphic. See, we meet in the middle. See, folks, this is how you come together in a world that just wants to argue.
Yeah, he's gonna throw something at me when we get done. Why would you say that?
He doesn't even know.
He doesn't even know what I'm going to throw.
That's exactly what I was getting at. Winners for the second Super Hunt drawing have been announced. So that here in Idaho Fish and Game, and I actually saw there was a last call email that went out.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to put in for the Super Hunt again because there was.
I know, but so should we? Would we? Could we? Am I that into it?
Let me kill an elk first.
What about a moose? Would you like to hunt moose in Idaho? I don't know, but we need moose to die. We need to harvest some moose. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, I did meant that I need to eat a moose in order to die myself.
No, yeah, you can't die until you eat a moose.
We need moose to die was the statement. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the case.
Well, then hold off on the moose. So yeah, I don't know. It's not easy hunting a moose.
No.
I think I would like to put in for moose.
I think I'll be honest, and this is a half-hearted segue. I'm more interested in eating a buffalo.
Really?
I had some buffalo it was obviously raised for the meat that I was eating, but I didn't hate it. But I would,
according to some of the books I've read, I know I've told you this before, but buffalo by far is better than all the other Western
buffalo
game.
that I had a few years ago. It was very sweet, kind of chewy because there's no fat, but I didn't hate it. And I've had buffalo jerky before. We stopped in Oregon one time, my wife and I. When we were dating, we were in Oregon, and we came over this pass somewhere on the coast, and there's this stand on the side of the road, and it's all this stuff, and one of the stuff
touristy
was buffalo jerky. So we bought buffalo jerky, and it was good.
Would you be interested in putting in for buffalo?
If it's available, I would be.
It's available every year.
Yeah, and so
it's available every year.
It's going to become more available as more conservation efforts push us into having the opportunity.
It's so awesome.
South Dakota's released some buffalo. After 150 years, they're going to roam in one of their national parks there. So I think that's really cool.
So more buffalo, and you can still hunt them outside Yellowstone. You can buy a tag. You have to buy an out-of-state tag for Montana, and you're like on call.
Yeah.
It's kind of a, okay, you've got 5 days starting in 2 days.
Jeez.
And you've got to get over there. But guess what? We live close enough.
True.
We could get over there. And we
Yeah.
hunting buffalo. Oh my gosh.
You've been on a bunt before?
I've been-
A buffalo bunt. A buffalo hunt.
A buffalo hunt.
Yeah.
Oh,
give it that.
it was just cool. Just very memorable. Yeah.
If you're in Unit 43, the Sawtooth National Forest has issued trail closures, and looks like there's a picture of a fire here.
Yeah, so the whole idea is it is fire season. The reason for this pick, it is fire season and it is almost hunting season. And these things overlap quite common. In fact, a couple years ago, part of our hunting area burned after hunting season.
Yeah.
After archery season.
Yeah, it was the
October.
first week of October.
Yeah. So just if you have plans, if you're traveling far,
Be safe.
I'm sure everybody's on Google Earth and checking out where they're going to hunt. But just cross reference where you're going to be hunting with what fires there are, just in case you have to change plans.
Yeah, and if there was a fire, and know the hunting area too, because if there was a fire previously, you could have unknown dangers in things in ways that you wouldn't expect, and I'm sure there's a way that this could endanger somebody, but like what would you say, a debris flow? Because there was a debris flow in the salmon that actually the policy of the Idaho with the Idaho division of the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. They're like, the debris flow doesn't need to be cleaned out. It needs to be a natural process.
Right.
And so in previous situations where I think there were some rafters many years ago that were stuck. And so they had to get this debris flow blown up and they kind of got it somewhat removed.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's going to happen and that's just what it's going to be. But you got to be careful because if it's raining a lot, you never know when the storms are going to show up.
Yeah.
You know that you hear the stories about hunting seasons where it was kind of ruined because you just didn't have the time, or the storm showed up and just didn't go away, or people got stranded.
Yeah.
So just be due diligent and be careful.
September is the time of year when summer and fall really duke it out. Fall is going to win, but summer tries to take a few points. So it can go from very hot to very cold and very rainy and very wet, and that's September.
That's kind of what we're expecting right at the beginning of September. It's going to be hot. Well, it's going to be warm, but then it's going to be cold.
Not as hot as last year.
No.
But I remember some years going into elk season, and it's Labor Day. It's hot, but no, all the sprinklers were frozen.
Yeah.
I remember driving up to Middle Creek, and all the pivots and stuff. They spray overnight, and there's ice built up on them.
Yep.
That was some cold nights.
Yeah.
That was some cold nights.
There's still one more story, but I don't know that it's relevant. It just has to do with South Hills here.
Oh, yeah,
and spraying
yeah.
for weeds, and so
That was just our cheatgrass seed story.
coming back to haunt us.
You ever get cheatgrass? Cheatgrass is down in the plains. You don't see it a lot. You don't see it a lot up in elk country.
No,
You just don't, and it's so nice.
it's so nasty down here.
Oh, that stupid cheatgrass is an invasive species
I
of
lost
grass.
a good pair of socks and a very comforting pair of shoes.
You can save those shoes. I saved my nobles.
You haven't seen my shoes. Like these are a breathable type of Skechers that are fabric that I swear they made the shoes out of socks.
They made it. They made it to pick up cheatgrass.
Apparently.
They said, you know what? These would make good shoes.
The cheatgrass commissioned those to be built so the
Yeah.
cheatgrass could spread better.
Oh my gosh, they just stick in everything.
Anyway,
So I had to take my shoelaces all the way out and pull the tongue all the way up and sit there with a pair of tweezers and pull every cheatgrass.
this pair of
seed.
shoes is about 6 years old,
Oh, you can say goodbye.
but I'm having a hard time because they've just been so comfortable,
I know.
and but at the same time, you got to cut your losses somewhere.
Okay. And next time we'll just shoot in Crocs.
Yeah,
It's okay.
I'm not gonna do that either.
Really?
No.
Why not?
I'm gonna wear maybe my my hiking boots.
Yeah?
They've never really been known to pick up crap like that.
Yeah, because the cheatgrass is short.
Yeah.
It's like 8 inches tall. And I think if we were, if we had boots up to our knees, we'd be fine.
I'll wear my waders then.
Or if we can hit the target, that'd be cool too.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have to go chasing the arrows.
Well, hold on. Initially, it was you.
Totally me. 100%. And you know what? You know what I got to say? Elk don't stand a chance.
Elk don't stand a chance.
Not a chance. Every time, what do you have? I don't know. I may be shooting 30%. 30% of my shots were kill shots.
Yeah.
Elk don't stand
They
a
don't
chance.
stand a chance. And on that note, I think we come to a close.
I don't know when we're going to be back. Can we talk for a second
Oh,
about
yeah,
when
yeah,
we're going
yeah.
to be back?
Yeah,
Is can a Wednesday work?
I don't know.
Can a Tuesday work? Okay, we're going to be back as soon as we can. All 4 of my weekends for elk season, I have blocked off with the wife.
Yeah.
Thursday all the way through Sunday, and that's elk hunting. If we can record something on the road, or if we can record something Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
We'll try to figure out what we
Okay.
can and just kind of roll with the punches, see what we can do.
and if not, we'll be back after elk season
Yeah.
to get ready for next elk
If
season.
anything, it's more of a hurry up and wait, all of you, to hear what we have to say
We'll be back. Yeah,
about
yeah.
whatever it is that we come across, whether it's before or
Yeah.
after.
Maybe we'll come back as experienced elk harvesters. Maybe.
Well, there is
Stranger things
some
have happened.
experience, but it's more like a temp job that you got hired for a weekend and you let. No, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. All right. Happy elk season. Have a great elk season. If I don't see you, I hope I do. Have a great elk season.
Be well.
And be safe.
Stay out.